My older sister and I were raised by an extremely discriminatory and violent single father in a very small, lily-white town after our mom died. I could name a plethora of crazy, untrue things I was taught by him, but that isn't really necessary for this story. Long story short, from a young age, I inherited all of my dad's bad attributes, but my sister was always a sensitive, kind kid. Whereas I was constantly fighting and angry, she was into animals and very interested in stories, folklore, places, and people. Everyone said she got it from our mom. Though she was really my dad's pride and joy, her interest in people and things outside of our tiny world of drunken fighting, small-town drama, and hatred was the beginning of her conflict with our dad. By the time my sister won a scholarship to college, she was constantly at odds with my dad. She couldn't wait to leave home. She did well in school, studied abroad, made new friends with people we grew up hating. She became different. Before college, she was the typical girl next door, popular with the guys for her looks and beloved by mostly everyone in our town for her kind demeanor. Typical small town, nice girl. Then the rumors started about her getting brainwashed in college, and her name basically became a bad word. I hate to admit it, but I started to believe those things because even our dad said them. Ironically, she eventually began dating this black guy, which was the biggest sin possible to a lot of people in our town, including me. I didn't understand it. Our dad was furious for a long time, but eventually it looked like he was coming around because he invited them to the house one afternoon. He started drinking in the driveway that morning, and by the time they arrived, he was hammered. They stepped out of the car to a barrage of slurs, which instantly broke my sister into tears. Then he started throwing cold beer cans at them, and I joined in. Both of them were bleeding, and we dented the car up pretty good. They sped away, but until that moment, I'd never seen my sister cry like that. I was 13 then. Dad yelled that she was dead to him. I wouldn't see my sister for nearly 15 years. I didn't even know her boyfriend's name. Our dad died a few years ago, and the staggering lack of people who came to his funeral was a big wake-up call to me about the need to have loving people in your life. After that, I moved to a bigger city for work. I gradually made friends and began having experiences I would have never had in my old town. I'm now very different from the rage-filled kid I used to be. The truth is, before Dad died, we started to clash. I drank and partied, that is drugs, so hard I went to jail a few times. Partying was my escape. I partied for a while after I moved, but the sheer gift of time and living life led me to eventually realize many of the things I was taught were wrong, and if I didn't change, I was going to end up in jail or worse. I just started feeling like there had to be more to life than being mad at the world and drunk all the time. I joined a few volunteer groups, and the people I met helped me get sober and really made a big impact on changing my trajectory. My views on race changed dramatically, and I've managed to build a solid but diverse group of friends. Despite that, the weight of having no family also set in. I missed my sister so much, but was too ashamed to reach out. I found her on Facebook and watched her life from afar. She actually married that guy we threw beer at, and they have 3 kids and live a few states away. They seemed really happy in their pictures. I eventually reached out and we developed communication online. A few weeks in, I made the drive out of state and met her and her husband over dinner. We had some very tough emotional talk, but overall it was a very constructive visit. I told them I wanted to be in their lives and even be an uncle to their kids. My sister then told me that I should hold off on all that for the moment. Given our upbringing and my history, she recommended I go to therapy or counseling before being introduced to her kids. She said they had worked hard to make sure their kids weren't exposed to the kind of adults we grew up with. I don't know why, but I took offense because she doesn't know what I've been through since my father died. I'm not that same hateful preteen. She doesn't know how hard I had to intentionally work hard, and am still working hard to better myself. I'm not opposed to therapy, but to make it a requirement before even meeting her children seems excessive. I told her I would think about it, but I don't think I hid my disappointment too well. I'm pretty sure she sensed the change in our vibe because the rest of the dinner was a bit awkward. I haven't heard from her since. Am I the idiot for not wanting to go to therapy just because she thinks I should? I mean, I'm literally considering moving several states away to be near them. Shouldn't that be enough for a start? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. Last time I saw my sister, I was hurling slurs and full cans of beer at her and her now husband. I expect her to just forgive everything and take me at my word that I am no longer an illogical, hate-filled subhuman. Actions speak louder than words. OP. And the fact that you are putting your pride before what you and your dad put her through tells us that you have not been working on yourself as hard as you claim you have. Go to therapy. And keep in mind she probably wants you to go for yourself as well as her. Comment 2. Following your father's example, you physically harmed your sister and her now husband. Yes, you have worked on yourself, but your sister's last memory of you is that incident. No matter what journey you have been through to get where you are now, do you honestly think your sister is going to let you near her children without some concrete evidence that you are a better person than you were before? She is going to protect her children, and I doubt right now she feels she can trust you fully. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. A lot has happened since the last post. So, remember how I was considering moving states to be closer to my sister and her family? Well, I did it. Packed up my life and landed just a few miles from her place. Thought it would show her how serious I was about changing and being part of their lives. But things didn't go as planned. Turns out my sister's husband, let's call him Mr. Perfect, wasn't too thrilled about me being so close. He's got a good job, a nice house, and a picture-perfect life. I guess a brother with a past like mine doesn't fit the family portrait. They invited me over for a barbecue to welcome me to the neighborhood. It was all smiles and polite conversation until Mr. Perfect pulled me aside. He told me straight up that he didn't trust me. Said he knew people like me don't change overnight, and that he'd be watching me. Every single step I took. I wanted to punch him right there, but I kept my cool. For my sister's sake. A week later, I got a job at a local garage. The boss seemed nice enough, gave me a chance even after I told him about my past. But then, things got weird. Tools started going missing, and guess who everyone suspected? Yeah, me. I pleaded my innocence, but my boss's attitude changed. He started giving me the worst jobs, the ones no one else wanted. I felt like I was being set up, but I couldn't prove it. Then one day, I came home to find my apartment trashed. Someone had broken in, stolen my savings, not much, but it was all I had. The cops came, took a report, but I could tell they weren't taking it seriously. They asked more questions about my past than about the break-in. I felt like I was being pushed out, not just from my job, but from this new life I was trying to build. I was angry, sure, but I was also scared. I had no one to turn to. My sister was distant, always busy with the kids or with Mr. Perfect. I started to wonder if he was behind all this, trying to get me to leave. But I had no proof, just a gut feeling. I kept my head down, worked even harder at the garage, and tried to stay out of trouble. But trouble has a way of finding you when you least expect it. One night I was walking home and got jumped by a couple of guys. They beat me up pretty bad, said it was a message to stay away from my sister and her perfect little family. I was lying there, bruised and bloody, when it hit me. This was all too convenient. Mr. Perfect had the motive, the means, and the opportunity to make my life hell. He wanted me gone, and he was using my past against me. But here's the thing. I didn't leave. I couldn't. Not when I finally had a chance to be a real uncle, to be part of a family again. So I stuck it out, kept going to work, kept trying to prove I was more than my past. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. My sister called me out of the blue, crying. She said Mr. Perfect had been cheating on her, that she'd found out and confronted him. He'd turned it around, blamed me for their problems, said I was a bad influence and that I was the reason their marriage was falling apart. I was floored. I'd been so focused on proving myself to him, to everyone, that I hadn't seen what was really going on. My sister was in pieces, and here I was, the cause of her pain. Or so she thought. I tried to tell her it wasn't true, that I had nothing to do with their issues, but she was too hurt, too angry. She told me to stay away, that she needed time to think, to figure things out without me complicating things. So now, I'm here, alone in this new city with my sister thinking I'm some homewrecker. Mr. Perfect played me like a fiddle, and I didn't see it coming. I thought I was building bridges, but all I was doing was giving him ammunition to use against me. I'm not sure what to do next. I want to fight for my sister, to show her I'm not the villain in this story. But maybe it's best to step back, give her space. I don't know. All I know is that I'm not the angry kid I used to be, and I won't let the past define me. Not anymore. Thanks for reading. My daughter's filthy room made her the laughingstock of school, so I pulled her out of sports and taught her a lesson about consequences. When my daughter was around 7 or 8 years old, I wouldn't say she was unhygienic, but I would tell her to open her windows in the morning or pick up her pajamas. Nothing really much. But when she was 10, she got her period and she started going through puberty. I would explain to her how important it was to change her pad, wear body spray, bathe every day, and other hygiene practices. But I don't think she took it seriously, and that would affect her classmates and her teachers. I would at least get about 3 emails talking about my daughter's hygiene, and her body odor wasn't good, especially since she played sports a lot. I would constantly have talks with her, but she wouldn't listen. It came to a point where her stepfather gave up on explaining to her about her hygiene and how embarrassing it was to get those emails. Her younger sister couldn't even stand how messy she was because they were sharing a bedroom, and her body odor was like her biggest problem. Fast forward to now. She turned 16 a few days ago, and she was also invited to her friend's birthday party. The same day she was going was the same day I was expecting to see my long-distance friend. I asked her if she could please keep her room clean and fresh. My friend comes over with her 1-year-old daughter already asleep, and I told her to put her in my daughter's room. A few minutes later, she comes back holding her daughter. I asked what the problem was, and she told me that the room smelled bad and there were underwear and pad wrappings everywhere. I was in disbelief, and I quickly hurried to her room, and it was a mess. I was fuming. I could not believe that a 16-year-old girl couldn't be a clean lady for once and take care of herself. I called her, and once she answered, I immediately screamed at her, calling her unhygienic, embarrassing, selfish, and she didn't say anything and just hung up. She comes back and she was crying and saying that I messed up her day, and I embarrassed her in front of a group of people. It turns out that she put me on loudspeaker for some game they were playing. We haven't spoken for a week now, and I'm starting to feel guilty, but my husband also says that I've been too soft on her. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think there is an underlying medical reason for her malodor. If after 6 years of trying to fix the problem, it has not resolved itself, it's much bigger than some deodorant spray. A few wrappers from her pads and dirty pads are not enough to create a stench so strong that it's offensive. Also, if you can no longer smell it, you have become nose blind to it as well. Take her for a checkup and ask the doctor to test for any maladies that may cause the odors, such as UTI, bacterial vaginosis, fungal infections, and the like. Do more than yelling and shaming her, do better. Comment 2. You're the idiot. You've had years to deal with her issues. You're completely aware of her pattern of behavior regarding personal hygiene. Suddenly you can't check the room you're telling your bestie to stick her 1-year-old in? Then you need to wreck her evening because of your failures as a parent and role model? Get her into therapy so a professional can address the issues you've clearly overlooked throughout her 16 years of life. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So after that whole mess with my daughter's room and the screaming match, things went from bad to worse. She came home from that party with a look that could unalive. We didn't talk for days, and the silence was like a thick fog in the house. Her stepdad tried to smooth things over, but she was having none of it. Then out of the blue, her best friend's mom called me. Apparently, my daughter had been spending a lot of time at their house, and the mom had noticed something off. She found out my daughter was stealing her friend's perfumes and makeup. I was mortified. I couldn't believe my own kid was a thief. I had to confront her, and it was like opening a can of worms. She broke down, admitted everything, and said she felt invisible at home, like her stepdad and I didn't care unless it was to criticize her. That hit me hard. I realized I'd been so focused on her hygiene issues that I hadn't seen the real problem. She felt walked all over, like her feelings didn't matter, and I was partly to blame for that. But that wasn't the end of it. Her younger sister, the one who couldn't stand the mess, had been using this whole situation to her advantage. She'd been telling her friends at school about it, making my older daughter the laughingstock. When I found out, I was furious. It was like betrayal in our own home. I sat them both down, and it was a full-on shouting match. Accusations flew, tears were shed, and it was a mess. But it was also a turning point. We all aired our grievances, and it was ugly but necessary. Things started to change after that. My older daughter began to take better care of herself, and her sister apologized for spreading rumors. It was a slow process, but we were rebuilding trust. Then, just when I thought we were getting back on track, my daughter's school called. She'd been caught skipping classes, and they were concerned about her behavior. It felt like a slap in the face. We'd been working so hard to fix our family, and here she was, acting out again. I had to take action. I pulled her out of sports for a while, which she loved, to show her actions had consequences. It was tough love, and she was angry, but it was necessary. Now we're in a better place. She's back in sports, her grades are up, and the house is peaceful. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but we're learning to listen to each other and not just wait for our turn to speak. Thanks for reading this update. My boyfriend gets obsessed with toxic Instagram reels and tries to control me, so I block him and serve him with a restraining order. Update. My boyfriend was obsessed with Instagram. Like, his feed is filled with women hating reels. I tolerated this until it became a serious problem. He was so kind, caring, and whatnot. Now he watches reels like, if she has a male best friend, she's a slut. If she doesn't share her ID password, she's a whore. Feminism caused women to become intimacy workers, etc. Now, I am a doctor, so of course I have good friends at the workplace. I have online friends too. Before dating him, I was friends with a guy who used to have a crush on me, but we both didn't want to date each other. Despite initial fights, we settled it down and are cool with each other. No, we don't meet alone or hang out. We just text. Purely platonic. We don't hang out even in a group. And I believe as the feelings aren't reciprocated and he isn't trying to pursue me or flirt, he's good as a friend. In fact, he pressured me into telling my guy about him, which my guy was secure of. Now he doesn't have a crush on me anymore. It was like way before we started dating. Now the day he started watching these reels, he keeps bugging me to share my ID passwords, which I didn't because my privacy matters. He is absolutely free to use my phone or check it anytime he wants without asking me, but I won't let him see every damn thing every time. My female friends talk to me too. He has this nonsense mentality now. I don't talk to many guys. I have like one guy friend whom I mentioned above, and he is online and barely met me once for 30 minutes years ago. I don't hang out with guys, and I am very loyal. I trust him too. He believes in this stupid mentality that being possessive is caring, and by possessive, I mean controlling someone and their actions. I, by no means, am disloyal. In fact, this is my first ever date, and I plan to marry him, but I am not sure anymore. He doesn't trust me anymore. He labels all of this as being caring and possessive. I am too old to put up with this nonsense. If you don't trust me, why are you in a relationship? I can't help but feel that he is projecting sometimes now. He gets mad when I ask him to at least trust me. One day he even forbade me to rant about our problems to my female best friend, because she will try and break us apart. Now he gave me this ultimatum of me or your close male friend out of nowhere. He doesn't have any female friends of his own, I never stopped him, and is now demanding this or break up. I calmly told him no, and asked him if something happened, and in turn, he threw a fit and started calling me a slut and a cheater. I left the house, I just can't help but feel low. It's not that I don't value him over my friend, but this very friend was there when this guy treated me like shoot, or when a loved one died. I could understand if he crossed boundaries or any ex, but no. He keeps trying to be this dominant guy. I blocked him now. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. No one else understands our love, your friend's family would encourage you to break up with me is code for I'm a crap partner and everyone can see it. But you, and if I isolate you from those relationships, you won't see it, and will stick around for more abuse. People who are self-assured don't need to pull stupid dominance plays. You're well rid of your ex. Comment 2, not the idiot. Whatever he was like before, he has been remade by the media he has been consuming. Now he is just bad news. This happens, and it's kind of like we need to grieve losing the person we cared for, because that person is gone. I'm sorry for your loss. Get away from this new person and find someone better. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since my last post, so after I blocked my boyfriend, things went from bad to worse. I thought I had seen the last of his controlling behavior, but I was wrong. He started showing up at my workplace, which is the last thing I needed. My job as a doctor is stressful enough without having to deal with him making a scene in front of my colleagues. He even tried to turn some of them against me, telling them I was the one being unreasonable. One day, he cornered me in the parking lot and demanded I unblock him and give him another chance. I refused, and he lost it. He grabbed my arm so hard it left a bruise. That was the final straw. I filed a restraining order against him. It was a mess, but I had to protect myself. Meanwhile, my family got involved. My brother, who had always been my rock, took it upon himself to have a talk with my ex. I don't know what was said, but my ex hasn't tried to contact me since. My parents, who had been on the fence about him, finally saw his true colors and supported my decision to cut him off. But just when I thought I could breathe again, another bomb dropped. My ex had been cheating on me with multiple women. One of them contacted me, thinking I was the other woman. Turns out he had been spinning lies to all of us, playing the victim, saying how controlling and jealous I was. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman and I talked, and we pieced together his web of lies. We both decided to cut him out of our lives for good. It was a tough pill to swallow, realizing the person I thought I knew was nothing but a facade. In the aftermath, I leaned on my friends for support. My male friend, the one my ex was so jealous of, was there for me, just like always, but strictly as a friend. He respected my boundaries and gave me the space I needed to heal. I've been focusing on myself, my work, and the people who truly care about me. It's been a rough week, but I'm getting through it. I've learned a lot about who I can trust and who I need to keep at arm's length. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.